Hello, everyone. Welcome to this course about mastering talent acquisition, which is a course designed specifically for senior leaders in medical affairs in the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, in general, talent acquisition is a cornerstone for the success in the pharmaceutical sector and in any other industry as well. However, this course will address the talent acquisition when it comes to hiring the middle level managers, those medical affairs managers who are managing others or who are managing our most valuable layer in the organization, which is the customer facing medical colleagues or the field medical colleagues. Also, this course emphasizes the importance of strategic hiring to drive innovation and excellence and make medical affairs organizations ready for the future. I would like to start the first lecture in this course with 3 quotes. People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. A bad manager can take good stuff and destroy it, causing the best employees to flee and the remainder to lose all motivation. A single misfit hire can ripple through a team, disrupting harmony and diminishing productivity. I probably selected these 3 quotes because they highlight the cascading effect of poor management on team morale and performance. They also stress the importance of careful hiring decisions and continuous managerial training. And finally, I see that they reinforce the idea that the success of any organization is deeply related to the quality of its managers. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we are talking here about the middle level managers who are managing our customer facing medical colleagues. So today we will cover 4 topics or try to answer 4 questions. What is the unmet need? Why people management in medical affairs is discussed today? And what is our role as senior medical leaders in medical affairs? What's the difference between people management in medical affairs and people management in any other function in the industry or in any other industry? Why this subject is important and why effective management is becoming more and more critical for medical affairs, especially when we consider the evolution of the industry and going to the future. What are the challenges that are expected to be faced by a newly hired in medical affairs or a newly hired medical manager in medical affairs? And this will help us to understand exactly the importance and the level of readiness that we need to search for when we hire this level of people managers in medical affairs. So let's get started and let's address the first question, which is the unmet need. There are 2 important factors to be considered when we address the unmet need. First is the limited formal trainings on people management and soft skills during graduation programs. And the second is the limited time for on-job trainings to develop newly hired medical manager. In majority of the situations, medical affairs colleagues are either graduated from medical or pharmacy schools. And in medical and pharmacy schools, in most of these schools, they have very limited trainings, or they get very limited trainings on soft skills in general and people management particularly. So when those colleagues join the industry, they may find themselves suddenly unprepared to take a leadership role. or to manage others, which is a very challenging situation, especially that we can have a fresh graduate for other roles in medical affairs, but when it comes to managing people, it's a very risky decision to have a freshly graduate or someone who didn't experience or study these soft skills or this set of skills before. Take in consideration that if we hire someone who doesn't have the experience, previous experience in people management and never studied it, we can always consider that the on-job trainings and the coaching that we can conduct with those newly hired people managers on daily basis. However, with the changes in the industry and the dynamic environment and the fast pace of changes that is encountered in the industry, I think that it is very difficult for any organization to dedicate enough time for adequate training for new people managers, specifically in medical affairs. This brings more challenges to the discussion, because if they didn't get graduate education or training, and if we cannot do an adequate training after hiring them, they are left unprepared adequately to play the role or to fulfill the requirements of this role. So when I say that on-job trainings, no time for them, or there will be limited time to conduct on-job trainings for people managers, I think, because mainly I don't think that it is 1 hour or 2 hours or 1 or 2 sessions that will be enough to conduct adequate training for anyone who is managing people or managing others. I would estimate it from my personal experience as at least 1 year training, 1 year being exposed to different situations and consulting his or her manager about the best scenarios and the best resolution policies or trends that a manager can take in the pharmaceutical industry. So these are the two factors that presents the unmet need. Our medical affairs colleagues, they didn't get adequate training during the graduate programs in the medical and pharmacy schools, and we don't have the luxury of time and sometimes resources to conduct adequate on-job trainings to make them ready to fulfill the requirements of this crucial and very important role for the organization and for medical affairs. There are a lot of details about these two factors in your lecture notes, so please read them. I'm sure the same topic will be part of our assignments during this course. So let's now move to the second part of this lecture, trying to answer why people management in medical affairs is different than people management elsewhere, and why this subject is important. And in order to address these questions, we need to recall our information about the evolution that happened in the pharmaceutical industry during the last decade, and also the evolution that happened in medical affairs. So let's remind ourselves with what happened in the industry first. Starting from the rise of technology and adopting different technology-based strategies to change the operating model in most of the pharmaceutical organizations. Considering different treatment approaches, including the personalized medicine and targeted therapies. Adopting and endorsing the patient-centric approach as a main strategy for the pharmaceutical organizations. The significant changes that were encountered in the regulatory landscape and also in the market dynamics and pricing strategies adopted by different governments across the globe. And also the innovative access strategies to ensure that patients would have access to innovative medications regardless where they are in the world. So these 6 factors shaped the pharmaceutical industry, and still the change is ongoing. And probably in 2030, the industry will be significantly different compared to this time or today. So, are we ready? Are our people managers ready to navigate smoothly and start to prepare themselves for the future to be leaders of these organizations? The medical affairs by itself also changed significantly, starting from the strategic transformation that happened in medical affairs. So, if you look 10 years ago, medical affairs function in the pharmaceutical industry was mainly giving trainings and conducting health care professionals interactions or key opinion leader engagement strategies based on information exchange. But actually today the medical affairs is known to be an integral part of the growth of any pharmaceutical industry, because even the type of medications now in the pharmaceutical industry is completely different than years ago. And there is a lot of responsibility and a lot of expectations from medical affairs colleagues and function compared to years ago. So now medical affairs is a known strategic pillar in any pharmaceutical organization. Also, the enhanced scientific communication that happened during the last few years shaped the way we discuss and we talk about science and we communicate science. The focus on real world data as an integral part of evidence-based medicine, and also the adoption of patient-centric approach, which is a natural progression. If the industry as a whole will start focusing on patient-centric strategy or approach, medical affairs will be in the center of this strategy, because the medical affairs are those colleagues who are trained to deal with patients and with patient advocacy groups. The increased need for a more effective cross-functional collaboration. So if cross-functional collaboration was an option years ago, it is now a critical mandatory requirement in order to ensure that the medical strategy is well aligned with the overall mission and vision of the organization. The integration also of advanced technologies and digital engagement in the medical operating model has significantly changed the role of medical affairs and the role of medical affairs managers. So years ago, we were not even discussing something like having a digital platform to engage with healthcare professionals, or conducting an advisory board virtually, or discussing an omni-channel approach in medical affairs, but we were rather very traditional and depending on very traditional strategies to engage with our customers and our patients. But nowadays, the introduction of technologies in the medical affairs operating model has changed the roles, all the roles in medical affairs, starting from the field medical roles to the senior leaders' roles. And of course, this imposed a different and new skill set that is needed for anyone working in medical affairs. Imagine that the organization is going to utilize digital technology in order to reach customers and interact with patients, while the people manager is not open to endorse and adopt these strategies. We will have a very big gap between the manager and his or her team, which will add more and more challenges when it comes to finding the right caliber and the right candidate for the new role of people managers in today or in 2023, for example, and beyond, going to the future. Another important fact that renders people management in medical affairs completely different than people management in any other function. This is the different nature of performance management in medical affairs. So if we take an example, the sales department or the marketing function, they measure the effectiveness and success of these functions by the revenues and the sales. But in medical affairs, and with reinforcing medical independency of medical functions in the pharmaceutical industry, it is very difficult to measure the impact of the medical affairs by sales and by revenues. We have to refer to different set of metrics, including qualitative, quantitative, operational, and value-based metrics. So imagine that this is the agreement between us and field medical team. We will use these metrics in order to measure the effectiveness and communicate the value created by medical colleagues across the organization. And the medical manager is not capable enough to coach his team on this set of metrics. And he will require probably some time in order to understand and navigate into these metrics and hold his or her team accountable to deliver based on these measurements. So that's why, once again, the performance management or the nature of performance management in medical affairs requires certain qualifications in the managers to ensure that each one has clear objectives, and these objectives will be measured by clear set of metrics. Talking about the metrics, I think we can mention many examples for each category. So the qualitative, this measures the quality of the medical initiatives, and there are a lot of examples, and you can read the details in the lecture notes. Quantitative, measuring the quantity, like for example the number of interactions or the number of publications or the number of attendance in certain educational settings. But the operational metrics are those metrics that are designed in order to measure the success of certain operation or certain system. Like, for example, the metrics that you set in order to ensure that the process of reporting medical insights is working well and doesn't need further modification. And finally, the value-based metrics, which is related directly to the medical proposition or the medical value proposition. And it is very important because it's not only that we prove that we have created the value, but we need to communicate it in different language, simpler language, to other non-medical functions and non-medical colleagues in order to understand how we are measuring the value created by medical affairs across the industry. So that is to say that the nature of measuring the success and the effectiveness of medical organization is different than the performance management in any other function where you can measure the effectiveness by clear quantitative metrics like revenues or sales or number of submissions or number of acceptance, if we are talking about a function like regulatory, for example. So this presents another additional challenge when we hire a manager who has a background in different departments or who has background in management, but in a different organization that is not utilizing this style of performance management. Consider also that the communicating the value and the effectiveness of medical is not also an option. Now it is a mandatory requirement for all medical leaders and managers and senior leadership to consistently and regularly communicate the medical value created. and the organization are spending a lot of time and efforts in order to ensure that their medical teams are well perceived, and the efforts that are done in certain category in the medical affairs are well communicated across the organization. And we don't have any other option. This is the only way to survive, especially that today the pharmaceutical organizations are investing a lot of resources to enable and empower medical teams. So it's their right to understand and be informed about the value that medical affairs teams are creating on daily basis. Okay, so let's move to another topic which makes the role of medical managers extremely important. The scope of the manager, of the work of the manager, is completely challenging, because this manager, he doesn't only do managerial job but also do a strategic job. I'm not talking here about any administrative work. So the medical manager is required to balance scientific excellence and communication. He or she is required to follow the regulatory compliance regulations. He and or she are required to build the relationships with external stakeholders, academic entities, universities, decision-making entities, and patient advocacy groups. They are required or requested to adopt an educational approach and educate patients and healthcare professionals on the new medications and the innovative therapies. And finally, they are required to take a new level of excellence when it comes to cross-functional collaboration, in order to ensure that what they are doing is well aligned with the overall mission and vision of the organization they are working in. Not only this, but we move to what I mentioned about the performance management in medical affairs, and the time that is needed and the complexity associated with defining metrics and monitoring those metrics throughout the year. They will do this with the medical independency in time. So you are required today to communicate to the maximum, to reach a level of excellence in cross-functional communication while maintaining medical independency. And this adds more complexity to the equation. The value communication that should be regular and consistent, the educational approach that is serving the patient-centric strategy of all the organization, and finally being very close to the ethical principles of healthcare and managing every initiative according to the medical legal ethics. Once again, why it is different? Scientific expertise, regulatory compliance knowledge, the level of stakeholder engagement, and the metrics associated with the level with key opinion leader engagement that is very, very new and is also evolving, the educational and patient-centric approach, and balancing science and communication, or science bridging the gap between science and commercialization. And this is unique position for medical affairs. Let me stop here and take few seconds to recall the information, and I will join you in few seconds in order to continue this lecture. So now let's take a moment and imagine ourselves as a newly graduate or a newly hired medical manager in a pharmaceutical organization. Let's see what will be the challenges that are expected to face this new manager once he starts his role. First, there may be a need to adapt and to understand the transition from clinical or individual contributor role to a managerial position. Second, building trust and rapport with the team. And when we talk about the team here in this point, we mean his team or her team, and also the cross-functional teams. Navigating organizational policies and dynamics. So this is not probably required from the field medical teams, but from a manager during this evolution phase of the industry. We need to be very well connected with the professional strategies and the dynamics of the organization. Next, balancing the administrative duties with the medical responsibilities, including the managerial duties as well as the strategic role. Ensuring compliance with the ever-changing industry regulation, regulatory compliance, laws, and so. Managing diverse personalities and resolving conflicts, most probably in a multinational platform that requires you to shift, or requires the medical manager to shift easily from one leadership style to another, and adopt modern strategies to resolve conflicts, especially conflicts with commercial or marketing colleagues. They are eager to know the information, and you are limited somehow with certain regulations related to medical independency. So the manager needs to be very well skilled, very well prepared in order to navigate into these waters. Also, managing diverse personalities and resolving conflicts will be discussed later during this course. Another challenge that the new medical manager would face is keeping up with the rapid advancement and in medical science and technology. And if he is new to the therapeutic area or to the category of products where he or she is working on, this will add more time needed in order to be a subject matter expert in science. Another challenge is setting clear expectation and performance metrics, and we discussed a few seconds ago about how different performance management is in medical affairs compared to any other function. Allocating resources effectively and managing the budget appropriately in his or her department or team is also probably something new that someone didn't or may not have enough experience in this area before. Addressing knowledge gaps and facilitating continuous team training and coaching his or her team on daily basis in order to ensure effectiveness of the customer-facing medical organization is also another challenge. So these are not all the challenges, but some of them. And you can again consider taking this exercise in an assignment in this course. However, that is to say that this type of role requires a very highly qualified person who has the experience or who has enough and adequate training on managing such responsibilities. Okay, so now let's summarize why the people managers in medical affairs, why this role is critical. They are the future leaders of medical affairs in the industry. And if this layer is not effective, there will be no future to medical affairs in the pharmaceutical industry. They are the direct interface with healthcare professionals, so they are trusted by the key opinion leaders, and they present the scientific face of the organization. They are the only people in the organization, in any pharmaceutical organization, who have the responsibility to balance between the clinical expertise and the managerial responsibilities. They are the overseeing all the medical affairs operations within their category or within their therapeutic area. They need to ensure compliance with the industry regulations. They are the bridge between research and development or science and the commercialization strategies. They tailor medical strategies to different regions, to different territories in their country or in their region. They continuously adopt different techniques in order to meet or to be aligned with the evolving medical landscapes. They need to facilitate knowledge transfer within their teams and manage transitional period whenever there is a change in one or more members of the team. They navigate complex stakeholder relationships, and when we add the patient-centric approach to the discussion, now they have completely different and new categories of customers they need to interact with and build strong partnership with. And also, they are the first face of the organization when it comes to the patient-centric approach and the first line of communication with patient advocacy groups. So that's why, as senior leaders, we have a big responsibility to select and prepare the best candidates for playing this role in medical affairs. Simply, this is the future of medical affairs. If it works well, the whole medical affairs will work well. If it is defective or one member is not working in the right way, it will affect and impact the deliverables of the whole organization. So your role here should be to define clear roles and responsibilities, to ensure alignment with the organizational goals, and to encourage the cross-functional collaboration that is not now an option. It's a mandatory requirement that we maintain a high level of cross-functional collaboration and communication with other functions in the industry. Identify the skill gaps and desired competencies, train and coach the managers on a regular basis. You need to set the performance benchmarks, train the people managers on the medical metrics and how to monitor them. Foster a culture of continuous learning, provide mentorship and guidance if needed, allocate resources for training and development, evaluate and provide feedback regularly to ensure the colleagues and the managers are getting the right feedback to improve all the time. Ensure compliance with the industry standards and the medical legal ethics, facilitate cross-functional collaboration, as I mentioned, and finally, advocate for patient-centric values and ethics. So it is your responsibility to ensure that the people managers are ready to fulfill the requirements of their role and to deliver the expected deliverables from medical affairs. So at this point, we will end the first lecture. Please read the lecture notes and we will have a discussion later on. And good luck with the rest of the course. Thank you.